Hi everybody, and welcome to a very short tutorial about how to use College Tracker and fill in the information you'll need from IPEDS. So first we want to make sure that you have all of the information you will need in the columns here on College Tracker. So first we have the college name, its location, the name of the program that it offers. Some majors might differ slightly in name. You might be studying English literature in one and English in another. For example, we're going to be looking for the acceptance rate, which will tell us how many students of those that apply are accepted into the university. It'll give us an idea of whether that school is a reach, a target, or a safety option. We also have retention rate, which tells us how many of the students that begin their college career in that school are able to finish there. We also have size. If you're looking for a small university, this might be something that you are particularly paying attention to. Besides that, we have student-faculty ratio, which tells us for each professor how many students do they have in a class. So a student-faculty ratio that's very small is going to tell you that you have fairly small class sizes, where a higher student-faculty ratio would probably indicate that you would have lecture-based courses where there are many more students and just one professor. Then we have a series of deadlines. So we have early decision, in which you make a binding decision to attend a school and you apply early. Early action, where you also apply early but you do not have a binding decision. You can go elsewhere even if they accept you. And regular decision, where you would apply, let's say, on a regular deadline. We have also a fairly extensive list of test scores that we're looking for. So starting with the ACT, we're looking for an ACT 25th and 75th percentile composite score, so the overall score on the ACT. The percentile means basically here that 25% of those accepted to the university had a X or under. So for example, if the ACT 25th percentile score is 15, then you know that 25% of students that were accepted had at least a 15. If you see that the 75th percentile composite score is 29, then you know that you will probably need to make at least a 29 to get into that school. We have this broken down then into English and math, and then something similar for the SAT in each of their sections as well. And then finally, we have some financial indicators. We have cost of attendance, which Catherine has so helpfully commented is tuition and room and board. And we have average institutional aid, which does not depend on you being a US citizen. So this is the kind of aid that you would receive directly from the university. And finally, we have total cost, which we'll calculate by subtracting the institutional aid, the average amount that the university offers students, from the cost of attendance. Some of these things we are not going to be able to find on IPEDS, but many of them are available there. But before we get to that, make sure that you also take this pro tip to freeze your first row by dragging this bar down underneath the 1 and freezing your first column, because that will make it much easier later on when you're scrolling back and forth to not get lost. So before I record IPEDS, I'm going to make sure to fill in my colleges list. If you have not figured out what colleges you're interested in, this is the point in the video where you would take a fairly long pause to figure out what colleges you are interested in. So once we've added all of our colleges here on the first column, we're going to go ahead and search for IPEDS at nces.ed.gov. We're going to go to Menu, Data and Tools, Comparison Tools, and IPEDS Data Center. Once you're there, you're going to click on Compare Institutions. And you're going to be asked what institutions you would like to compare. So you're going to start by adding the university that appears first in your college tracker, which in this case is Harvard University. So you see that Harvard University has been added. And we're going to add another one by going to by names or unit IDs and typing in the next institution, the next college that appears on our list, which in this case is Prescott College. So we'll type in Prescott. And here we want to be really certain that we get the right college because, as you can see, there are 3 colleges in the US that have Prescott in their name or location. So we're going to make sure that we get Prescott College, and you'll see that it gets added to the list. So you're going to do that with each one of your colleges, and then we'll continue. Once you've selected all of your colleges here, we're going to click Continue to Step 2, Select Variables. Now the variables that we're looking for are going to be found mostly under frequently used derived variables. And remember, not all of the variables we're looking for are available on IPEDS, but the majority are, and this is going to save you a lot of time. So go back to College Tracker, and the first variable we're going to be able to find on IPEDS is acceptance rate. So we're going to look for selectivity and admissions yield, and open that by clicking on the plus sign, selecting the most recent year, and the percent admitted total. Of the total amount of people that applied to the institution, how many of them were accepted? We'll close that menu and head on to our next variable, which is retention rate. That actually falls outside of frequently used derived variables. So we'll scroll down until we find retention rates, entering class, and student to faculty ratio. So under retention rates, we're going to select again the most recent year and select the full-time retention rate. This retention rate will tell us of the students that began studying at this college, how many of them also finished their degree at the college. Next, we're going to be looking for size, which is conveniently also found under the same menu. So we're going to close this and go into total entering class, still under retention rates, entering class, and student to faculty ratio. Select the most recent year, and select total entering students in the fall at the undergraduate level, which will tell us the undergraduates, all of the people at college, how big is that population? Is it a big school? Is it a small school? For those of you looking for a small school, this might be more important. Next, we're going to look for student to faculty ratio, which tells you, again, roughly how big the class sizes are going to be. You're going to select the most recent year and student to faculty ratio. And then we'll be able to close this menu for retention rates, entering class, and student to faculty ratio. And move on to the test scores. The deadlines we're going to look for on the website of each college because these are prone to changes and you really don't want to get wrong when you have to apply to each program. So we go to the individual college websites for that. It is not available on IPEDS. So moving on to test scores. Here we are looking for, again, a huge amount of test scores which will allow us to see how competitive each one of these colleges is and how selective they are in certain areas. So we're going to go to test scores, which is in admissions and test scores. We're going to go to SAT and ACT test scores, select the most recent year, and we're going to select 8 different categories. So SAT reading 25th, SAT reading 75th, SAT math 25th, SAT math 75th, ACT composite 25th, ACT composite 75th. Remind ourselves of everything that's here. ACT 75th English, and ACT 75th Math. Once you have all of those selected, we'll scroll on, and we're looking for just 2 more variables, cost of attendance and average institutional aid. Cost of attendance is going to be found once we close the admissions and test score menu, and total cost of attendance, most recent year, and we're going to look for the checkbox that says total price for out-of-state students living on campus, which means that you are not a resident of the state in which the college is located, and you will be living on campus because that is the policy for almost every college in America is going to require a freshman student to live on campus. And finally, we're going to look for average institutional aid. Average institutional aid refers to the amount of scholarships that are available from the college itself, not from the government, so these are available to everybody, and the average amount that's given to each student. It's clearly very important. So we're going to look for, after we close this menu, student financial aid. Underneath that, 2007-08 to current year, the most recent year, and we're going to look for the average amount of institutional grant aid awarded to full-time, first-time undergraduates. And then we're done. This last one we'll calculate by subtracting the institutional aid from cost of attendance. So once we've got everything selected here, we're going to hit continue. Here we have one last chance to make sure we've selected all of the variables that we would like to have on our spreadsheet. We'll make sure that all of these are checked off here on the left. And since they all are, we're going to hit continue. And we're going to make sure that we have everything ready for the report. So it looks like I have selected 10 colleges, 14 variables, and we are all ready. Now, we have two options here for receiving this data. We can download a file that's going to be in CSV form, or we can view on screen. If you view on screen, then it's going to look like this, and it's basically impossible to copy and paste. So what we're going to do is go back and select download in comma separated format, which will give us a CSV file. You can see that that just downloaded here. And I'm not going to open it directly here. I'm going to go to Excel. And once we have Excel open, I'm going to go to File at the top of the screen. It doesn't look like it's visible here, but I'm going to go to File, look for Import, CSV file, and import. We're going to make sure to select the file that we're trying to import that we just downloaded, and it's going to give us a lot of options. So we have here, again, sorry this is in Spanish. I think most of your programs are going to be in English, but it is the exact same screen. We're going to click Next. We're going to get options on how we want this to be separated. We do not want to click space. This is fine. The first checkbox here and the third. Next, and Finish. So here we have a spreadsheet that has all of the data that we have downloaded. We have each of the universities that we selected, and we have all of the information that we have requested from each of those universities. But we are not done yet, so make sure to save this file. You can call it Your Name's NCES data if you like. And we're going to go into Google Drive and upload this file so that it does not get lost. So from Google Drive, we will hit New, File Upload. We'll search for that file, which you'll remember that I named mine Holly's NCES data, and we'll open it here. All right, so we've opened that. And we're going to very quickly convert this to a Google Sheets file. My computer is a little bit old and will sometimes shut down when I do this. I hope that's not the case for yours, but if Chrome does quit, you can open it right up again. And this may take a little bit to load. Woohoo! Success! All right. So we have all of this data now in a very friendly Google Sheets format. So here's what we're going to do. You can see now, this is important, that the universities have been changed in order. Now they're in alphabetical order, which is fine. We just need to make sure that we also ordered this in the same way. So quick way to do that is to select all of those names, right click, and we're going to say sort range from A to Z, which will very quickly put all of this in alphabetical order. Again, if I did that too quickly, you're putting right click, which on a Mac is control click, sort range, A to Z, sort. All right, once we've done that, we have everything in the same order, and it's really just an issue of copying and pasting. So total price for out-of-state students living on campus, for example, which we know means tuition, or cost of attendance, we're going to just copy and paste, and voila, there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with each of the columns here, and then we'll see what the spreadsheet looks like. So you can see that I've added all of the data from our NCEES data spreadsheet into my college tracker. Of course, there are some things missing, but those are the things we need to search for on the individual university websites. If you find that something isn't correctly formatted, for example, the rates should be in percentages, there are ways of fixing that. You can also go into format numbers and have a lot more options. You can even change currencies. But here we just need to change to a percentage. And sometimes that'll mess it up a little bit, so we'll go through and switch these. Be careful when you're fixing any of those percentages. I accidentally switched 5 for 50% here. So again, be careful with your percentages as you fix things up. Once your data looks correct, you're going to go ahead and search for all of these things that we could not find on IPEDS. Thankfully, it's not that much information, but we are looking for location, program, early decision, early action, regular decision. And we're also going to take a second to calculate the total cost. So we're going to do that by creating a formula, which you can do by entering the equal sign, by clicking the cost of attendance, entering a minus sign, and clicking the average institutional aid, which will give us a total cost in this example of $31,255. And the great thing about Google Sheets is then you can drag this formula down and very quickly calculate the total cost for the rest of the universities on your list. Again, you just click on that lower corner and drag down, and that will give you the total cost of every one of these universities. Once that's done, we will go ahead and search the individual websites for all of this information. I won't go through each one of those with you, but for example, looking at Babson College, you'll very quickly see that it is in Babson Park, Massachusetts, which we can just copy and paste here. I am hoping to study psychology in this second life, so we will go to academics and make sure that's the name of the program. We're looking at undergraduate, and all of these websites are a little bit different. Which is always fun. So in this case, we're going to look for concentrations, and this area on the side. My goodness. Okay, let's just skip ahead. I already investigated, and it's only called psychology. And what we will need to look for here, which might be even more difficult to find, are the deadlines. So usually you can find this under admission and undergraduate. Sometimes there will be different dates for international students, so you may want to have that in mind, but usually they will be the same deadlines. So if there's no special instructions under international, you will be able to find this hopefully on these sites. What I will say is that some of these are much more difficult to navigate than others. So what I'll usually do is just type in Babson College deadlines on Google, and it does an even better job of navigating than the actual site itself. So application deadlines for Babson looks like that's graduate school. All right, going back to undergraduate. Oh my. All right, being careful to look for undergraduate admissions. You don't want to get the wrong dates here. Babson College undergraduate admissions, we have an early decision. Application deadline is November 1st. So we'll go to College Tracker, early decision, November 1st. We have early action, which is November 1st as well. And we have regular decision, which in this case is January 2nd. This will often also tell you the time that you'll be notified by, but that will be more important once you have applied. So January 2nd. And we're going to do this with each one of these colleges. Again, you do have to go to their own sites because they will change on a yearly basis, if not more often. So it's important that you look for this information at the source and not on another website. You don't want to be the student that does not apply to your dream university because you have the deadline wrong. So I'll go ahead and fill in the rest of this, and then we'll see how it looks once we've finished. As you can see, I've finished filling in all of my college tracker. The locations are complete, programs are complete. As you can see, there is some variation in the psychology degrees that are offered by these universities. I was interested to find that Prescott offers something called critical psychology, which is more social justice oriented, and Emory offers a mixture of psychology and linguistics. So again, it's important to write down the actual program name because you can find some really interesting programs. You can now make a lot of observations about the colleges you have here. So acceptance rate wise, it looks like Harvard is my most selective college, closely followed surprisingly by Colorado College. And it looks like I am missing a couple safety schools, which will usually accept 75% or more. So this will be an indication to me that I need to do some more research and find some more colleges that are going to be my safety schools, just in case I don't get into my top choices. Something else that stands out here in retention rate is that Prescott has a much lower retention rate. For some reason, students are leaving this college. They might be transferring elsewhere, or maybe they didn't like their experience, but it's something to note. It's also much smaller than the other universities. So the largest entering class is FIU, so you would have 13,000 people in your freshman class. Much larger than the other universities we have here, and the student to faculty ratio is then of course much larger as well. Moving on to deadlines, you'll notice that some universities only have regular decision. In this case, FIU and St. Louis University and Prescott only offer regular decision, so they do not have an option for early decision or early action. If you do not find it, that's probably because it doesn't exist. There are some that offer all three kinds of deadlines, but it's going to depend on the college. So if you do not find that information, do not freak out. It's probably that they just don't have that option. There are some things that are missing. That's because some institutions, some colleges refuse to report their information. There are different reasons for that, but some of them want there to be this to not be something that you're thinking about as you apply. So for example, Colorado College, you would not know what the average score is for students who are accepted. Again, this varies by college. Most of them will let you know, some of them won't. And of course, then we have total cost here. This is going to end up being pretty expensive, so I probably also have to add some colleges that are going to end up being more generous with their aid or have a lower cost of attendance so that the total cost isn't so high. It's also good to have a range of costs there as well, with some lower costs included. So this is our college tracker. At this point, it's ready for me to use and refer back to. I have some ideas of where I need to go from here. I need to find some universities that have an even higher acceptance rate, and I probably need to find some universities as well that have a lower total cost. And this is our college tracker. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial and that this has helped you figure out how to navigate IPEDS and the entire process. Until next time.